Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are studying It's About Loving God, Bible studies on the Christian life. In this session, we'll be looking at Exodus chapter 4, verses 10 to 17, transforming work. Moses encountered God through the burning bush in Exodus chapter 3. During that long conversation between himself and God, Moses learned of the mission God had planned for him. Moses showed no confidence and gave many excuses why God had the wrong man for the job. What was the result of that encounter? Well, Moses began a lifelong journey of growing confidence in God's power and wisdom. Believers today need to grow in confidence in following Jesus. Exodus chapter 4, verses 10 to 17, our text for this session, affirms two realities of God's call to serve Him. First, human resources cannot produce God's work. Verse 10 through down to verse 12. Then Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." So the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." I am not eloquent. Moses was focused in the wrong place, looking at his physical, the human perspective, stuck on his limitations. He thought God was unaware of them. Franklin Roosevelt said, "Physical strength can never permanently withstand the impact of spiritual force." Listen, Franklin Roosevelt spent much of his presidency in a wheelchair. Pay attention to how patient the Lord is with his servants. Who made man's mouth? Who makes the mute? Who makes the deaf? Who makes the seeing or the blind? I made your mouth and it will work for my purposes. Therefore, go. What a powerful command with an implied promise. I will give you all you need to accomplish my plan for you. Moses voiced the truth that man, in his human resources, is incapable of effectively doing God's work. He expressed cowardice, laziness, and unbelief. The problem was that Moses was not aware that God chooses messengers who are not well equipped, so that his grace may be more evident. Jesus' disciples were not effective speakers until the Holy Spirit empowered them. Human resource cannot produce God's work. Second, human resistance cannot prevent God's plan. Verse 13, but he said, "O my Lord, please send by the hand of whomever else you may send." So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses, and he said, "Is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well. And look, he is also coming out to meet you. When he sees you, he'll be glad in his heart. Now you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and I will teach you what you shall do. So he shall be your spokesman to the people, and he himself shall be as a mouth for you, and you shall be to him as God. And you shall take this rod in your hand with which you shall do the signs." Moses was basically telling God, "No thanks. It's nice that you thought of me, but send someone else. I'll pass." God was upset, and he does not accept no for an answer. Notice God didn't acknowledge Moses' objection. Moses rudely rejected God's call to serve. God still worked with him to get his rescue in motion. He gave his servant two tools: a spokesman, Aaron. God will speak instructions to Moses. Moses will give them to Aaron. Aaron will share them with the people. The you in verse 15 is plural. It meant God was going to empower both Moses and Aaron in their respective responsibilities. And then he gave him a symbol, the rod. God gave Moses the rod as a symbol of power and a visual aid when performing miracles and humbling Egypt. It became known as the rod of God, verse 20. It is very displeasing to the Lord when we claim inadequacy or inability as our excuse for not obediently serving him. The difficulties felt by Moses and the objections which he raised are those used by all of God's servants at some time: selfishness, fear, unbelief, and pride. Yet God always has in his plan the resources to do the task. The rest of the story? Well, after a lot of discussion with God, Moses finally allowed himself to be used of God to lead the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. Ken Hemphill wrote of this encounter: Moses initially had some big reservations about serving God. He ran an entire list of excuses by God. In response, God simply told Moses his name. Moses said, "I'm not able to speak very well." God replied, "I know, but I am." Moses worried, "I am not believable." God remarked, "I understand, but I am." Moses suggested, "I am not capable." God declared, "You're right, but I am." God's answer to our belief is that we can't, is his declaration of who he is. The answer to our worries is wrapped up in God's name. When you think, "I am not capable enough to serve," just remember God's name: I am. You have a great day.